I think he can hear you, Ray.
Don't move. It won't hurt you.
I feel the need for speed. Ow! So together we're the Three Amigos.
Right here. Stop.
Batman, what happened? Are you okay?
He's slimy. Is it getting hot in here, or is it just me?
No, go past this. Past this part. In fact, never play this again.
Hello.
Howdy.
How are you?
You left me in the driver's seat over here. That's not right.
I did. You look good over there.
I look good everywhere. Come on.
You do.
I'm also the most humble person I know. Let me tell you.
Yes. If you look up modesty in the dictionary, you'll see a picture of this man.
Flipping off the camera.
Right here.
No, go away.
Hello. I am R2 the Icky, and I'm joined by my wonderful co-host. Who are you, sir?
I'm Beard. Oh, Liberty.
And this is After the Weekend. Thank you for joining us tonight. If you're new here, please consider giving us a subscribe and a like, and share the video out with your friends. We are at $3.99 on our subscribe count. We need one more subscriber. We hit 400. So
that can change tonight. Somebody knows somebody.
I know, but it can also change to where we're at 398 too. So
yeah. And YouTube being the way they are, we could make it to 400 and then drop back down to 395.
I know. We've been making it at a snail's pace. We've got people in chat. They're like, I'll subscribe on my second account. I appreciate that. I was just gonna say really quick, we've gone through a handful of different variations of our intros and our outros. This last one, JT did it because every time I put music on there, like 6 months down the road, we get hit with copyright claims by people who said that it was copyright-free music. But do you ever just like walk around in silence and you hear that whoop from our intro? Like in your head? Sometimes I do. Not gonna lie.
I mean, they can't see me when it's played, but I have to remember that you can, and I have to restrain myself from going, woo, every time.
Yeah.
I love it. It's a great intro.
It is. It's a wonderful intro. Well, with that, let's say hello to the chat before we get going. We've got Aaron is here. Hey, sir. Evening, lads. I am lurking about as per usual, even though I should be editing. Yep, every Monday night is editing night for Aaron.
And we provide a good distraction so he can procrastinate.
Yeah, I'm glad that we do. He's a good guy. You need to go check out his channel, or I don't know if he's posting videos on his channel these days. I know he's bigger on Spotify. If I'm
it's
not
the
mistaken.
I Had to Say It podcast. I had to say it.
Good show over there. And then we've got Biggles Met. Hey, thank you for being here. And he said, let me subscribe on my second account. Yeah, go for it. I'd love it. We've also got my son, little Spidey, is watching us. Yeah, this is definitely an episode that he can tune into. Though he didn't watch this one with me. I just watched this on my own a couple days ago. And my wife, Mrs. to the Icky. Hello, everybody. Hello. And Biggle says he loves Black Sheep. Oh, wait, I clicked on the wrong one. I love Black Sheep. Now, are you talking about the movie or are you talking about the animal? Because if it's the latter, I have questions.
Yeah, the animal seems to be a little unpredictable with the bags of wool that it delivers, if I remember the old song.
Yep. And we got Jacob Ironside. Hey, y'all. Thanks for being here, sir.
Howdy, buddy.
Oh, Aaron says he's already a subscriber on both of his. Well, we appreciate that. And he says it should be 400. Here, let me
Yeah,
refresh our page
I'm
and let's
looking at
see.
400.
Wow, thank you so much, Biggles. Appreciate it. And that must be his secondary account there. I like that logo. It reminds me of another friend of ours. Must know the same graphic artist there. Aaron says I pretty much I record on Sunday and come back to edit with fresh ears. Well, it's probably a good idea. Oh, and we've got Nicole here. Hey, Nicole. Thanks for joining us. She says, Chris Farley and David Spade together in movies always gave me a good laugh. Yep, very true. Very true. I learned 10 things I hate about you. It's better to do sheep than Kate Stratford. Indeed. Indeed.
And I guess we should point out that JT's out sick. He got back, but he brought something with him, and he is not feeling it.
Yeah. Poor guy. He had to go away for work and came back. I mean, I better to, I guess, be sick at your home than be sick in a hotel room while you're traveling.
Yeah.
Because that's the worst. If you've ever been sick when you've done that.
Oh, I've been incredibly sick, like almost went to the hospital in a hotel room.
Oh yeah, so. It's the worst. And thank you, buddy. I appreciate that. Well, with that, we'll get into the discussion here. But this was my pick. There was no real rhyme or reason to this. This was just filler. We've kind of been a little bit out of sync and just kind of playing it by ear. I mainly picked this because this was free to watch on Pluto, so I knew we could all watch it.
I've got my ship moored up out at the bay, so that's where I go to find movies, allegedly.
Yeah, it sounded like you said something else there for a moment, but then I realized what you said. So, now, but had you seen this film before? I had picked it.
I want to say probably have seen parts of it, but so much, especially in the 90s, David Spade and Chris Farley comedy was very similar. So I might have just been thinking of scenes from other movies. Well, but I'm going to go ahead and say it was probably a first watch for me, definitely in its entirety.
You know, they really only had 2 films together. They had this and they had Tommy Boy the previous year.
Why does it feel like there's more?
Probably more so just how much time they spent together on SNL.
Okay.
And this was something I remember seeing this in the theater with at least my dad, maybe my my mom too. I can't remember on that, but I do remember watching this with my dad. Definitely. And Jacob asks, did JT get a face hugger again? I don't know. He hasn't talked to me yet. He just messaged us and said he was out sick tonight. So he got something on the way back, unfortunately. So
he did, I don't think it's a secret. He did travel to Vegas on a work trip. So, I'm kind of wondering if some of the recovery is self-induced. I'm not saying necessarily, but I'm wondering. I'm allowed to wonder. It's Vegas after all.
No comment. Well, with that, we will get into film details here. I've been getting lazy. I'm like, I can just grab the back. I can grab the back of like a DVD or a poster and just get all the details now instead of making a graphic. It's fine. But this was a Paramount film. Paramount has done a lot of SNL films. Lauren Michaels produced it, who Lauren Michaels created and is, the head honcho of SNL, even to this day. And this was directed by Penelope. I want to say you pronounce it Spheres. I might be saying that wrong. But she did Wayne's World. She's done a couple other things. And then this was written by Fred Wolf, who he does make a cameo in this film. I forget who he plays. But where I could tell everybody who's watching this, if you grew up in the 90s, early 2000s, you saw him in Joe Dirt. He's the guy who's the Dennis Miller's sidekick on the radio show, and he's like, "Did you use the scrubbing bubbles, Joe?"
Oh, it's been so long since I've seen Joe
Well,
Dirt.
I'm just saying, if you watch it, that's who Fred Wolf is, and he worked on SNL, and occasionally will act. I want to say he's a stand-up comic too, but yeah, this came out in early 1996, and I remember seeing tons of marketing for this. This came right after Tommy Boy. You can definitely tell that they were very much trying to cash in on that.
Yeah, it makes sense. They were such a good comedy
Not-
duo anyway.
Not that they didn't have chemistry, but they were trying to cash in and just replicate Tommy Boy all over again. Because
Yeah.
that very much this feels a lot like that.
It does.
But with that, we are gonna jump into the numbers next. If the
Ooh.
button works for me, where do we go? Here we go.
11, 92, 12.
Now this part's always fun because our audience can participate on this part of the show. Though sometimes I feel like people get stage fright even just behind the keyboard. But
Yeah, I used to, and then y'all put me in front of a camera, and now I've got no excuse.
there's got to be more pressure. Yeah, I mean, hey, if you ever want to do the slides, you could put me in the hot spot, and I can have to guess the budget in the box office. But yeah, what was the budget? And you can either guess dollars for when it was or today's dollars. Aaron's being a smartass. He says $100 billion. I don't think that's an actual number, sir, but we'll take that.
Better than being a dumbass.
It's a bold move. We'll see how it plays out.
See, I know that this had to be pretty close to Chris Farley passing away, right? Because he didn't do too much after this.
Chris Farley passed away in 97. I forget exactly what kind of date. It's a good question. I didn't look that up, but
so I'll kind of think out loud. It's because I know that they would have commanded a decent salary to do this, a decent amount of pay. But other than the two leads, I just don't think that there's a whole lot of money in this movie. You can tell it was done for fairly cheap.
Yeah.
At least that's what it seems like to me.
Yeah, I mean, there's not really much of special effects going on. For the most part, I mean, you can tell everything
He didn't really have to pay a stunt person for Chris Farley because he just threw himself at everything.
Yeah, just about. I mean, a lot of location scouting was done. What is it? I totally forgot. This is not in my trivia, but that cabin was actually used in Joe Dirt. That's the cabin of
really?
Joe Dirt's love interest that her and her dad will do that. But yes, Chris Farley passed away December 18th, 1997. So almost made it to 98. Yeah, he a couple months prior, he had actually hosted SNL, and they kind of I wasn't aware of it at the time, but they very much kind of poked at him and his unfortunate habits that he had. I never realized that, like I said, even at the time. I think he did a little bit more than that, unfortunately. But yeah, this is released right at the beginning of February.
All right, so I've delayed as long as I could. I tried to derail so people had time to think.
I know,
and also give myself time to think. I'm going to go. I think this is probably going to be low, but I've seen more action-oriented and special effects focused. Yeah, I've seen more action-oriented and special effects focused movies that came out within a couple of years after this that were done for 10 million. So I'm going to say 14 million budget, then money.
Okay. Now I'll give you one other little hint. You said for the budget. Now there was a bit at the time, the opening weekend for this film did 10 million, and they bragged big time about this. doing 10 million on its opening weekend.
Huh. Yeah, because I was kind of torn between, because I seem to, in my brain, I remember Tommy Boy a lot more than Black Sheep. So I think that that one probably, even if it didn't do better initially, had more legs, not only in the theater but in DVD sales. You know it, buddy. Um, uh, I don't know if this one really had legs. I don't know if it. I think it may have been kind of a flash in the pan sort of thing. So I was thinking like maybe double of what their budget was. So if I stick with my 14 budget, then I'm going to say 30 million. I think it probably made most of its money early on, but didn't have a ton of repeat viewers. But I could be way off.
JT's got a guess there, 2 million and 20 million. So no, that those are both good. Well, yeah, we'll check it out now. It was a 20 million, and actually I couldn't find it. That was the closest I could find, was a few articles saying that the estimated budget was 20 million. But in today's dollars, that would be 41. I mean, that's wild. 30 years ago, that money has doubled. It's just sad, scary. Oh, Jacob said 6 million. Yeah, not a bad guess. And then the box office, like I said, it kind of hit big early on, and I want to say it died off quickly just because it was not quite what Tommy Boy was, but it did 32.4, which would be 64.5. And then, like I said, there was a fair amount of marketing. I don't know how much marketing probably cost back then, but
yeah,
I'm probably willing to guess this film probably had 5-6 million in profit. So I mean, they got their money back, I'm sure, but I also think this did better on home video too. I remember watching it on VHS as a kid. So, but yeah,
I wasn't too far off.
Not nearly as big of a film.
And that might have been because I mean, Biggles was saying, let's see, where is it? He said more people like Tommy Boy, but this is the superior movie in his opinion. And that may be, but I kind of also think that it might, like you said, they were trying to hit so many of the similar story beats and like the family conflict and that kind of thing that people probably saw and thought, this is funny, but I've seen this before.
And there was a fair amount. So this is some trivia that I don't have saved aside, but Fred Wolf had gotten fired like 3 times from this film. The director, she was not a fan of him. She did not like his script. She actually had a good portion of it rewritten. There was a fair amount of things that he had wrote in there that she's like, we don't have this in the budget. And because there was a scene where she wanted to actually write that the cop car with the nitrous oxide actually ended up like freezing a forest. I want to say somehow it did that. She's like, we can't do that. Yeah, he got rehired, I want to say, by Lorne Michaels and Chris Farley. But so yeah,
they're like, okay, buddy, you're back on the team, but you gotta tone down the crazy.
Well, I was gonna say, yeah, it's that. I mean, for one there, yeah, it's a very different script, I think, from what was started off with and what people had read, and yeah, that was thanks to Biggles there, JT. So we appreciate him. I guess, and see, if you were here, you would have done this for Biggles. We should have done this for him.
You're right.
See, but he's so quick on it. He is. We're terrible. I mean, this is JT has spoiled us here. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, he really has.
He has. The other thing too with this film that was very surprising to find out too is the director did not like David Spade. Very much thought very little of him. Did not think that he was all that good.
Really?
Yeah. And that was kind of surprising to see, and felt like the chemistry and the success of Tommy Boy was really just a fluke, at least on David Spade's part. So that was pretty surprising to find out too. So there was a fair amount of production problems with this film.
You don't have to have very complex production problems to start increasing the budget.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
even just going through rewrites and the time that's delayed when you can't be shooting, that'll add up.
Well, I mean, still in this day, at this point, though, I'm going to guess David Spade and Chris Farley either earned $500,000 to $1 million each.
Oh yeah, that's what I would think.
You know, I mean, at this time with that type of budget, and you know, again, I think a lot of this the budget went to locations that they had to use. In all honesty, would be my guess. Oh, I don't know why it skipped over. I clicked the button once, but here is the cast.
Oh, Gary Busey is amazing in this.
Yeah, he's great. I will share that they actually offered that role to Bruce Dern. Remember from The Burbs? And he turned it down because he felt like that character was very similar to what he played in The Burbs. You know, the Vietnam neighbor. Yeah. But,
I think he would have done it like kind of like a straighter version, like try to be this like just this legit crazy guy, and not the like over the top crazy guy like we got with Gary Busey.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of watch that, and you kind of go, "Is Gary Busey really acting though?"
It is kind of funny to actually see him back in the day before he basically went completely deaf and didn't yell every single line.
Yeah. And then, there you can see Fred Wolf right there, too, the writer. This film, too, also had a connection to John Belushi, who Chris Farley was very much a big fan of and loved. It's got Tim Matheson and Bruce McGill, who starred with John in Animal House. And they were specifically cast for that reason. He wanted to work with people that worked with John. He was that kind of obsessed with him. And then also too, his brothers are in it. They play the bouncers at the Rock the Vote concert when he goes up to pretend the security guard. Yeah. Those are his two brothers. And then his buddy, who was the I don't know if was he a cop or was he a highway patrol guy? Grant Hesloff.
He was like the town cop for their little village.
He was, he was somebody you saw a lot in the 90s and then kind of went away. And he actually ended up becoming a producer. He's very good friends with George Clooney. A lot of George Clooney's films in the 2000s. And on, he's been a production partner of his. Okay, so he's pretty. I've always liked his characters that he played. I just assumed that he must have went. I think I'll be more successful behind the camera. Yes,
sometimes you could be like the little things. They just decide like, I don't really want to be in front of camera anymore.
Yeah, there's that too. I mean, a lot of people do make that transition where they like to be behind the camera more. But yes, JT, that is back here in theaters. And then Chris Owen played the one of the redneck Opie kids who sprays David Spade with the fire hose or the fire extinguisher. I think the other
them to come back.
Yeah, the other kid is I want to say was what was that? There was that show on Nickelodeon with the two brothers that had the same name. Pete and Pete. That's who it was. He was the younger Pete. You guys
I was a Cartoon Network kid, so I didn't watch much Nickelodeon.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It was the younger brother from Pete and Pete. But and then who is it? Yeah, Timothy Carahart plays the Tim Matheson's like assistant or right-hand guy. I have never seen that guy not play a sleazy character.
Well, sometimes you just have to stick with your strengths.
I guess so, but Like that's at some point, like how old does that get for somebody where like that's all you can get? And then yeah, Christine Embersol played the governor. She was the incumbent for the candidacy that Tim Matheson is up against.
She did so great with that completely like bald face lying politician, like
Oh yeah,
spammy sort of
I mean
person.
like that. Like she looked like a genuine governor. Though they never ever mention political parties here, but I'm like I don't know. I'm like watching this. That's like
I mean,
they both must be Democrats.
I,
That's how
I
I
mean,
felt.
I liked it because they didn't actually define a party line, so
No, I
you could
thought
kind
that
of
was
see whichever side you felt was like quote unquote your opponent in real life. You could see that
yeah,
in
yeah.
in her.
That's how I felt about it though. I was gonna say though, my favorite part with her is when she's throwing that party and she goes out on the dance floor. She starts bobbing her head like there's you can see like the utter like I'm faking this. I don't want to be here. I hate you all,
Yeah,
but let me try and masquerade throughout here.
is that right before she like comes like walks up on her son dancing with that busty blonde?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And she just looks at him and goes, "Aren't you tired now?"
Well, then too, she like is talking to like the nanny, to the Hispanic nanny, and she's like, "Take home, put to bed," like talking like real slow. It's like, oh,
She turns around and goes, "Oh no, all her papers are good. She's totally legal, just not good with the English."
yeah, yeah, and yeah, like JT said, like imagine this came out today. I very like you couldn't get away with any of that.
No, because even if you talked about certain parts of this movie, you might get blocked off of some of social media.
Oh yeah, yeah. I and I feel like for what happens too, I'm like nothing to me seemed very outrageous. It just you could see other people getting upset about it or like
Oh yeah.
getting in a tiff about it. But I feel bad. Biggle says he really um he really likes us over Tommy Boy. But I'm like I rewatching this again as an adult. I was like, this plot is beyond thin. Just kind of with like what happens. He sends his brother off to the cabin. They go campaign, and somehow from that they end up at a concert, and then from that they're able to figure out that the current governor is using dead people for voting.
Yeah, and I think I definitely enjoyed this more than you did this time. Not to jump ahead, but if you kind of look at it, especially with Chris Farley's overacting and all the like stunts and falling and just hijinks he gets into, this is basically a live action cartoon or robot chicken sketch, and I'm totally okay with that. That was funny to me. It just when it accidentally started crossing over into like predicting the future of real world stuff going on.
Well, I think nowadays I think it's easy to see a lot of that.
Yeah.
I mean, just in general, across like everything, there is so much corruption today. Just again with everything and everyone.
There always has been. We just get to see it more because people put it out there on social media.
Well, because of social media, it's easier, right, to access everybody. It's easier for people to have an ability to talk more. But yes, how much of this actually happened without people knowing it? And but it just it does seem like a lot of foreshadowing with things.
And I do agree, David Spade's character is definitely more easily likable in this than in Tommy.
Yeah, yeah. He is not nearly as douchey. The production of this though came about because Spade and Chris Farley had contracts with Paramount. So Paramount did Tommy Boy as well, and like I said, they work with a lot of SNL actors, and I was gonna say we'll find out more about this. But like David Spade, like the Brady Bunch film, that was something that's got like a lot of SNL people in it, and I think even Christine Embersol is in it, and like David Spade plays the it's the second film. And it's got Tim Matheson in it too. We're going off track because I'm getting into the Brady Bunch, but he plays the gay hairstylist. It's hilarious though, where he's hearing about Carol Brady talk about her two husbands. But yeah, this was definitely not typical David Spade. That's a good point. And that feels very off with it too. I feel like where it just. I remember as a kid loving this movie, and then I rewatched it, and I was like, it was just kind of, yeah, that's how I felt. But you liked it though.
Yeah, I thought I had a good time with it. I mean, I'm not going to say that, we'll get to the ratings at the end, but it's not like top tier, but if it came on TV and I didn't have anything to do, I'd watch it again.
I mean, I'd rewatch it again. It just, like I said, hadn't watched this in a while, and this just, I must have romanticized it far more looking back at it from a kid. But yeah, here's some shots from the film. I love the bat part. Like, what is that? They both touch it together. It very much, though, made me think of Great Outdoors.
Well, and the back and forth prodding they do with each other, it comes up several times. It's you do it. No, you do it. We'll do it together.
Well, then, right, he gets hit with the fire extinguisher, and he's like, "What are you covered in mud?" And he's like, "When is mud white?" He's like, "He said crud."
Yeah, I love he turns around and you see the spray on his butt crack.
It's very much like being around me and JT, I assume.
I mean, just in general, Chris Farley's character is just so lovable. Like, he is a genuine, wants to do good for everybody, but fails at everything.
Well, it is very much like Tommy Boy, but yeah, he's got a good heart. It's in the right place. He turns everything up to 11 when he does it.
Yeah,
he needs to dial it back just 2 or 3. He'd be okay.
Like that center frame where he accidentally gets up on the stage after smoking a little bit of the devil's lettuce, and people think he's his brother, and he's just spouting out just. I have to think that there was no script there, and they basically told Chris Farley, "Go up there and do something," and they just let him run with it.
I love the band where they're like, "No!"
Yeah, yeah, when he yells,
"Kill Whitey!" But
and everybody just gets quiet.
He loves his older brother. He believes in him. Right. The film starts off with him. He's got a giant box van, to promote his brother's campaign. And he crashes it into a marquee. Tries campaigning, and old people think he's on crack. They drag him from the car. And then same thing too. Yeah, Biggles brought it up, the whole scene of him. And a lot of irony there too. But I with the trivia, it kind of probably alludes to why that scene was there. But yeah, he's trying to get, finds the kids doing drugs and drinking, and trying to teach them not to do it in probably the most backwards way.
Yeah, he basically took on his SNL character where he's like, you don't want to be living in a van down by the river. That's basically the way it was going on right there.
Yeah. That was kind of most of Chris Farley's characters, though, when he was turned on was...
It's true.
Oh, what was that guy's name? The van down by the river guy. Biggles has to know. I feel like it.
And
Biggles does love this. Look at that, 15 out of 10.
I'm sad I didn't have the clip. That's what she said queued up when you said Chris Farley's turned on. I'm sorry, JT, I let you down. I'll be ready next time.
Yeah. See what happens when you're not here, JT? We miss all the clips. Yeah, Jake Busey being, I think, just Jake Busey.
I mean, because like, see, David Spade's character nearly runs him over in town, and he flips off Jake or Jake Busey. Yeah, or is that his son? I always get him confused. Gary Busey. Jake Busey's his son.
Yeah.
He flips off Gary Busey, and he like pulls out a knife. Then he turns around the corner trying to speed away, meets up with traffic, just goes and hides, comes back, and his car is stolen. And then, of course, they stumble onto him in the middle of the woods, living out of an old school bus, driving his car.
Well, I mean, I guess, if somebody made you that mad and they just took off and they left their keys in the car.
But then he's got this nice, from that frame right there, hold up the key. He's got this nice little exchange. He's like, look, I just wanted an apology and to get my car back. Oh, you just wanted your car back? Oh, here's the keys, man. As for the apology, he takes an MP5, just goes through the car doors and the tires. It just goes full unhinged, threatening to blast his brains out.
I like when he shows up later when they confront the governor, because she's won and they figured out that they're forging votes with the dead people in the from the different cities and counties, and it turns out that they had all his dead relatives, his dad, his grandfather, all vote for her, and she's like, and I appreciate their vote. He's like, quiet, wench.
I mean, it's so many little.
Oh, he's holding the bazooka.
Like before he gets down there, he takes out. There's a sniper that's going to take out Chris Farley because he's gone full unhinged. Is holding David Spade's character at gunpoint just because he needs people to pay attention to him because he has evidence, but nobody takes him seriously. So he does, of course, what his character does. It goes all out, full extreme with it. But in order to keep him from getting shot, I have to look at their names. I can't just keep calling them their actors. Let's see. Drake Savage, Gary Busey. He spots the sniper, but he's only got an RPG with him. So he jumps down from the tree, sits down on the ground, pulls his leg off, and starts dumping like change and all sorts of different things out of it to get a mirror to reflect. I didn't see that coming. That caught me off guard. That got a genuine belly laugh from me.
Drake Savage, that's right. That sounds like a video game character. But yeah, I mean, it definitely has got memorable moments, but just overall, like this is a movie. It's enjoyable to watch with your friends, and laugh at all like the best parts of it. But
yeah,
there's
I would
much
agree.
there.
It's. I would say, yeah, after you've seen it once or twice throughout your life, most people, I think, probably wouldn't go back to it unless they're going to be watching with friends. Because movies like this and Tommy Boy, if we're honest, both of these are more fun when you got, a group together and you start like quoting lines back and forth, and maybe somebody sees something you hadn't seen before and they can point it out, and that would definitely make it more enjoyable.
Well, what's strange though is it's a Chris Farley, David Spade film, but it doesn't entirely feel like that because like they're not really competing against each other. David Spade's is trying to keep him out of trouble because he's trying to get a better job.
Yeah.
He's limo, and he's like, "Can I get a job in your cabinet if I do get do well with this assignment?" And there's a lot of like all the scenes with him and his brother are very much about, like they both, clearly they care about each other. Even like when he screws up, like his brother still loves him, doesn't hate him or anything like that. No, he knows he means well. He does too much.
You just need him out of the way for the time being. It's like, I don't hate you, bro, but you just got to stay away.
But that's the thing. It goes between a film about brothers, and then, like I said, they're not. David Spade and Chris Farley really aren't necessarily. They have no relationship. Like Tommy Boy, right? They grew up together. Like that's how they knew each other. They both, thought the other was full of BS. I mean, here they're dropped into each other's lives, and not that much, other than like the cabin. The cabin or when they're in the rural county. I mean, like that's the only time where it genuinely becomes their thing, I feel like.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's why it kind of feels okay in my brain if I think about it like it's like Robot Chicken sketches. Because like some of those episodes of that show, they would be somewhat interlinked and you might go back and forth between the same characters over and over again, but it may not be like an overarching story. So I mean, in my head, if you think of it like it's a live action comedy, like if you can close your eyes and imagine this done in like the 90s, early 2000s Cartoon Network style, like Jenny Tartakovsky, like Johnny Bravo, that kind of thing, I think it would absolutely work as a cartoon.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't even have to trim that much out of it. You could just do like, it would work out to be really good episodes, I think. So maybe that's just because that's how I was kind of approaching it, where I kind of enjoyed it a little bit more.
Sure.
Because I mean, I didn't go into this thinking like there's going to be a ton of story here. It's going to be Chris Farley doing crazy things and like the barest frame of story holding everything else up.
Well, too, what is it? There's that moment where he's pretending that David, he's pretending to be a police officer because his cop buddy lets him borrow the car. And David Spade is pretending to be he's transporting a murderer. And he's like, he killed like 20 chickens and then like humped a cow or a horse or something like that.
Yeah. that cop's like, you get him out of our state as fast as you can. You better be going a lot more than 7 miles an hour.
Yeah. That guy was like so disgusted by it. But well, without further ado, next we can get into in theaters something we haven't done in a while. You excited?
Yes.
Shut your drums and stop kicking the seats! We're trying to watch the movie!
All right. So yeah, this opened number one. Opened up against the Juror. And like again, remember I had said it had done 10 million. So I think that was from Wednesday to Friday. So including after Sunday, it did 12.8 million. So
wow,
strong start. And then the Juror, I wanted to say, was a film with Demi Moore and Alec Baldwin, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if it was like a John Grisham novel or not. It may not have been. But I kind of look at that and I'm like, it didn't really have, at least in my opinion, a lot of competition against it. So
not a whole lot like the wacky comedy vein here. Mr. Holland's Opus was still doing pretty good, pulling decent numbers after 6 weeks.
Yeah. White Squall had come out. That was it's a good movie. But I think at this point, this was always kind of the weak kind of part of the year.
What time of the year was it again? Did you say?
This is February. So this first week of February here. I mean, if you kind of look back at that, I mean, the prior week, Bed of Roses was the only new film. Before that, you had Dusk Till Dawn. Kind of surprised From Dusk Till Dawn came out during January. That seems like that would have been like either like a summer film, like the end of summer, or like an October film.
Yeah. I mean, if you can get away with it not being, if it's just kind of like horror but not Halloween themed, then I think it'd be better to not do October because you're going to be competing with all the other stuff.
But I mean, being a horror film, like I said, just usually those typically are end of summer films. At least that was kind of the standard. Or right, they would come out in October. They would be like mid-October is when you'd see them. So that the only thing I can think of is for the fact it was a Miramax film. I don't know. But
I mean, was that Robert? It's not Robert Rodriguez, was it?
Yeah, it's Robert Rodriguez.
Okay.
And George Clooney, Juliette Lewis.
Maybe they thought he had enough pull just with the name. That
I think the other thing, though, that was the way that movie was advertised. I don't think that they showed any of the vampire stuff. Like it was promoted as purely like Quentin Tarantino and George Clooney on the run. Because there was a lot of people I remember who had seen that movie and they're like, I thought this was, Outlaws on the Run, and then like second half of the film, it's vampires. it goes insane.
Well, I mean, I guess there is some value to that, considering these days trailers they give away just about every single main
Sure.
plot point in a minute and a half.
But yeah, like looking at that, I'm like, Toy Story was still out, but I mean that was pretty low on the list at that point. Leaving Las Vegas, that's kind of nuts because look at that. That did 12 million. I don't know if that's an error or not, but it had been out for 15 weeks. And somebody won an Oscar for that. Somebody won Best Actor for that. Now I gotta look up that later. But yeah, this is one of the few times I've looked at our in theaters and I'm like, I don't feel like I'm missing out on much on this one. Where like usually I'm
monkeys.
like, yeah, there's nothing there where I'm like, oh, I'd love to see that in the theater. I mean, other than Toy Story, and I did. Jumanji, I think I saw that in the theater, and same thing like Grumpier Old Men. I saw all those in the theater. But yeah, definitely this is one of the few times where I feel like we've shown something that was kind of a weak box office.
I might have enjoyed Mr. Holland's Opus in the theater just for the sound. But I mean, I can recreate that now at home with a good set of speakers or headphones. So
yeah.
Still,
that's a good point. Yeah, that was probably for the music. Yeah, that's a good point. That might have been. I don't think that was his first film, but that might have been one of his first films that he headlined. So that's a good point. That's a good question. And JT says 12 Monkeys, is that the story about Beard and his monkey lady?
No. No.
That is Monkey See, Monkey Do, Monkey Pee Pee all over you.
Why do you guys do this?
Why? Are you looking up Clooney?
I was going to try to glance at it. I mean, he was in Return of the Killer Tomatoes in 88.
Yeah. Well, while you're taking a quick glance at that, we're coming up to trivia.
Let's do it.
That's the fact, Jack! That's the fact, Jack!
When I thought JT was going to be here, that was going to be the thumbnail, but since he was a no-show.
I mean, I don't know if I should point this out, but if he's feeling real sick, doesn't want to be on camera, you can always just show up in the back room and click on everything. You don't actually have to be on the stage to produce.
I kind of wondered if he was going to do that tonight, but
we would never gotten anything done because he'd have been clicking clips the entire time.
I think he's mad at me. I think that's the real reason he's not here. He's just really irritated with me. So yeah, looking up this, there was a lot of. Oh, he says he's in bed. That means he has no pants on, probably.
Ooh.
Exactly. So yeah, looking up trivia on this. This was a pretty sad film. When you hear a little bit of the production and everything. And at the same time, I found that really interesting too, because not realizing that, because hey, it's a comedy. And I was real surprised by it. But to portray the energy Chris was known for, he would chug iced coffee before every scene. In between takes, he smoked cigarettes excessively. Farley did this to maintain his sobriety and was attending Alcoholics Anonymous meetings while making Black Sheep. Sadly, it would not last long. Chris hated the film. Very upset how it turned out, he got drunk, trashed his hotel room, and caused $3,000 in damage, along with losing 1.5 years of sobriety in the process. This led to his 5th rehab stint, which I was surprised to hear. Wow. Like I said, kind of when he was on SNL, like I don't ever remember hearing about that. And my mom used to buy like all like the gossip magazines, like at every like celebrity magazine. But just it seems like there would have been like blurbs about that. Like my mom would always had People and Star Magazine. Star Magazine was like the like a celebrity gossip rag.
I mean, that's where you used to have to go for that, because if they had good PR, they'd be able to keep it off the TV news.
That's true, but there was always a lot of like rumors in that. And hey, Dan from inside the booth. Hey guys, great movie.
Howdy.
And yeah, no, that's very true. He was. And the other thing too, yeah, when he watches, he went to like an early screening of it to kind of like see how the audience, reacted, and it very much upset him. So it was kind of sad to hear that it was that rough for him.
Yeah.
But there was tension between Chris and David while shooting the film. David was best friends with Lori Bagley, the skinny dipping woman from Tommy Boy, and introduced Lori to Chris. David himself, interested in Lori, found out the two began dating behind his back. This action, along with Farley starting his downward spiral into drugs and questionable friends, ended up souring their friendship, and they spent very little time together after Black Sheep.
Man.
Yeah, so they really were not on the best of terms while making this, where I do kind of feel like that, kind of rewatching this and compared to Tommy Boy, that chemistry was not quite the same. And that's what this was, though. It was a vehicle to rebottle that. And then last, Penelope Spheres remembers her and Farley talking on set, and he told her, "I love John Belushi so much that I want to live my life like John, and I want to die like John." Upset by his statement, she pushed him and said, "Don't you ever say that again. That is horrible." Tragically, Farley did end up like John. Both actors were stars of SNL, were Second City alumni, died of drug overdoses, and died at age 33. Farley idolized Belushi, wanting to emulate him in every way possible. Farley did drugs because of Belushi, who was dependent on drugs to be funny. So Farley felt himself needed to be dependent on drugs to be funny too. And there's even like clips of him like looking at like going into like the old SNL wardrobe and finding outfits that John had wore that had John's name in it, and like, oh, John Belushi wore this. And
Wow.
and yeah, I mean, like, that's, I don't know. I mean, that's such a wild thing to me to think of, idolizing somebody that hard to do everything that he did. That's kind of goes back to what I had said about he wanted to work with people that worked with John. So he had two people from a film that he did. He also too, I want to say, I think it was the role of his brother. I had read that originally they had asked Kevin Bacon, because Kevin Bacon was in Animal House, and Kevin Bacon turned it down, didn't want to do it. He later regretted it just because he's like, "Now I missed out on a chance to work with Chris Farley. I wish I hadn't turned that down."
Yeah.
But like, it's one thing you had to work with people that you worked with, but
I mean, it's tragically common. It seems that some of the comedic greats always were battling, like using it to like battle or fight off the darkness that they felt themselves, and they just hit it so well from the public.
Yeah,
for the most part.
Well, I mean, that's kind of a common thing with funny people. I mean, a lot of very funny people that bring a lot of joy to us, are usually very, unfortunately, depressed people, which is very, very sad.
There's a line I'm thinking of from it's an episode from YouTube called on a channel called The Whiskey Tribe, and they recently started a series where they look at great people from history, and they talk about why they're cheers worthy, and then like come up with the ideal whiskey that they think represents that person. And they recently did a cheers worthy episode for Anthony Bourdain, who also was somebody who lived life to the fullest and fought his demons every single day. And the one line I'm thinking of right now is, "Are broken people cheers worthy?" And by the end of the episode, they answer that in the positive, but they lead out with that before they get into the story. And I think absolutely broken people are probably some of the most cheers worthy people just because of what they have to like put themselves through every day just to keep going.
Well, I was gonna say I think that's why you see. Excuse me. Um, I mean, a really common thing with Hollywood, I feel like, is why you see a lot of comedic actors end up becoming dramatic actors. I mean, how many times have we seen that where it's like Jim Carrey? Jim Carrey did nothing but comedy, and then now there was a big stretch. It was nothing but dramatic acting. Adam Sandler did that. He did a lot of comedy, and then he did a bunch of dramatic films.
Even Robin
and,
Williams dipped his toes in it. He did What
and
Dreams May Come and that 24-hour photo, I think it was what it was called.
well, he also did like Goodwill Hunting, but
Yeah.
I almost kind of go that it seems like people who are known to be funny. It's like they can't be funny anymore. Like they get tired of it, and they kind of want to show maybe more of a side of them that they kind of maybe that's how they feel. I'm assuming. Even like
it does make sense that eventually you need some sort of outlet. And if you can find a dramatic role that kind of lets you kind of embody some of what you're keeping on the inside that you have to deal with every day, it kind of makes sense because then you can kind of get that out of your system without having to tell people that's how you really feel.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say like Steve Carell is like another good example. I mean, right? I mean, not only that, I think a lot of to them doing dramas is also to kind of squelch maybe a particular image of them that people have. I mean, like I say, Steve Carell. I mean, so many people were just he's Michael Scott to him, right? And I think he just wanted to be entirely different.
And they don't always they can't always get away with it. It's what Michael Cera, he tried to get away from being Michael Cera, and then he just had to accept it because if he wanted roles, he's gonna have to play Michael Cera.
But like, I mean, Michael Cera is funny, but he's like twerpy though too. It's like different.
Oh yeah,
like I don't think of him as being like
I don't classify him as like these comedians, but like
he's not like
in Hollywood who wanted to get out of that typecast and then just had to accept it.
But then it's kind of funny. There's the flip side of it. We get actors who are very dramatic for a long time and then go on to do a comedy. And sometimes that doesn't work either, but sometimes it's hilarious. To me, a great example of that is Christopher Walken. When Christopher Walken did SNL for the first time, I mean, he was utterly hilarious. He had to read cue cards and everything, but he had fun. But I mean, that's kind of funny too, where there is a little bit of a flip side to that coin where, Brad Pitt, I mean, now he was not a dramatic actor, but somebody who I would go, who's funny that I never would have guessed it when I first knew who he was, but like Justin Timberlake, he was another person that did a lot of SNL and just, he had a blast with being on the cast and doing skits. And you could tell that he was somebody that was up for doing whatever. Those always make the best hosts. Those are the people that why they come back so often. His later appearances, I don't think were that good, but his earlier ones, like Alec Baldwin, same thing. Did a lot of like action and drama. Did SNL, and like I said, his earlier appearances were pretty good.
How's his career going right now?
Yeah. I'd be careful around that man. That's all I have to say.
Yeah.
But no, I know this was not fun trivia, but like I said, kind of reading about this and kind of a lot of the information out there, there was a lot of trouble behind the production of this film. You had a director and you had a writer that did not see eye to eye and did not want to work together. You had your two stars that clearly had a rift between them. And same thing too, just that's got to be a tough thing as well to see, right? A friend, having a good friend that's gone down a wrong path, and You know,
I
you
mean,
can only do
unfortunately,
so
this is
much.
something that I mean, I don't know if it's just something about like the earlier days of this before maybe maybe this is still happening, but people are just better about faking it, but behind the scenes. But I mean, there's the famous Bill Murray and Harold Ramis fallout that unfortunately also lasted until one of them like passed away.
Yeah,
And it just
it
seems so
wasn't.
sad to see like two people who had been like pretty good friends just completely fall away.
Yeah, I mean that one wasn't about. Yeah, JT, you guys ears were burning. I mean that one had nothing to do with a lady. It was just it
Right.
was not seen eye to eye in production of a film. But I mean it again it brought a rift between them, and it didn't get patched up until the end. But at least to know that they were able to reconcile before Harold
Yeah.
passed away, at least is nice. I mean, because that's something that a lot of people don't get to do in this. At the same time, I would almost say I don't know how well things can be hidden in a way, just because there's so many people out there that like to speak out on social media too. Whether
Yeah.
they're upfront about it or they're cryptic about it, right? I mean, just so many people can figure out or have much more speculation of what's going on. But
Yeah.
like I said, because of that, not knowing that really kind of made me look at this film a lot differently, learning all this information. So, um,
Well, now I'm not going to be able to watch it the same. Thanks.
um, but you move on. Is that why you moved from your house? Because you had a fallout with him because of a lady and buried him in your basement and had to move on?
Don't answer that. You don't have to answer that.
Sorry, starting rumors about Dan.
Just wow, just going all in on that.
I know. Well, even JT's like, I'm stepping away. Don't tell secrets. Well, that is Black Sheep. I'm gonna leave it on that thumbnail just for JT. Oh, we got to do. I forgot to get it lined up. Our critic list. See,
we're
we need
professionals
JT
here,
back.
folks. We're professionals here.
I know. I'm just so
See, I usually just have to look for comments to bring up.
I know.
I don't have to think about watching the "That's What She Said" clip, and just so I don't miss it again and make JT like disappointed in me even more.
Like I said, I'm just used to JT. He does everything. He's Cap. He takes charge. Okay.
Here we go.
There we go. So, at a review. So, what would you give this?
65, 60 to 65. I'm pretty picky, so once I start getting above 70, that's like when I really enjoy something. So I think it's going to be a little bit less than that.
Well, I'll give it a 60 just for Biggles, so at least Biggles can say that we said it was rad.
Yeah, you don't want him coming after us.
I know. He's our 400th sub. I don't want to upset him.
It's true.
Graphic language. There's
not
bad.
much, but it's very obvious and whenever it happens.
Violence. You could say there's a bit. Nothing like. If he says it's the best, it is best.
I mean, it's all like slapstick comedic violence. But until you get to the end where, he pulls a Beretta on his buddy.
Yeah.
50 out of 10.
I can put it down to a 50 if you'd like, but that's going to just be decent. I figured that'd make you mad. So There, it's on 63 now. Any nudity or sexual content? Well, there is the lady who's like, you playing pocket pool there or something.
And there's the end when the podium falls over in front of everybody.
Yeah, there's that too. But
Yeah.
For a moment, I swear I remember that old lady being the grandma from Happy Gilmore. I don't know why, because I was like, I can't believe she did that scene, and I'm like, oh wait, that wasn't her. But for being a movie about politics, there's not really political bias to it.
No. I mean, like we said, they don't even identify a party for either candidate. They kind of let you fill in the blanks with whoever you identify with, I suppose.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd still put it at a very family friendly. Maybe we could put it one below.
Yeah, I agree.
You wouldn't watch it with the super young kids, but you know, I don't know.
I mean,
if I was 13 or 14, I could watch this with my parents, no problem.
Oh yeah, it's nothing that they don't hear or joke about in school.
We never do. We've never reviewed anything that has any of it.
It's because we don't review modern stuff.
That's true. I'm just saying. This was a case where it was a movie about politics that had no political basis. It's just funny. So Beard enjoyed it.
See, now we're going through like, you made me go through the rom-coms where I was the one that like was like down on it and like raging at people making stupid decisions. Now we just did 2 movies in a row where you're just gonna like, it was fine.
JT is embarrassed by R2. Here.
Later, man. Thanks for
See ya.
by.
Thanks for coming by, Dan. Wrap it up.
GT.
There we go. All right. Well, that was our review of Black Sheep. I appreciate everybody for joining us tonight. Yeah, be sure to check out Critic List if you haven't. It is a awesome website. Oh, well, that sucks. I hope our review is there. Oh no.
Now you're gonna have to go back and like watch the
all right,
choose everything.
Yeah, I know. I'll have to redo it. Wow. Whoops. Just a fail. All right, we're gonna end it there. Go check out Critic List. We'll
I do think I need to play one clip at least. It just seems appropriate.
You're gonna boo me.
There were probably other times in here that I could have done it, and no, I could do that. But I think we just need, especially after those facts, we need a good Chris Farley laugh. And of course, the list jumped as soon as I click it. See, we're professionals.
I was gonna say really quick, you are a busy man this week. You want to share with everybody where you're gonna be?
Tomorrow evening on Tuesday, I think at 8:00 Central, I'll be on with Gord King. We'll be taking a look at The Lion King animated. The live action doesn't exist. And Wednesday, back for doing some political discussion with a panel on Beelzebub with Devil Made Me Do It. Thursday, that's in the evening too. This is all evenings. You can follow me on Twix for times. I'll post things. Thursday evening with Roman of the Empire for pop culture free range. Who knows what we're going to talk about? He didn't tell us until like the day before. Friday, it's my first time on with Master Swag King. We're going to kind of do a one-on-one. He does some pop culture stuff. I also don't know what we're going to talk about then, so it'll be fun. Come watch me sweat. And then Saturday, back here after the weekend for Weekend Harder. And then Sunday, back over with Stark of Iron for more Fallout Vault talk in the afternoon. That's pretty fun. It's a good guy.
Man, you're a busy guy. I don't know how you do it all. I'm impressed. I feel like I created a monster with you.
Well, I've made it too public of my policy of say yes to as many opportunities as possible, because you can always back down, but they might not get offered again. And I'm saying yes too many times, but I'm still having fun. Every now and then I'll take a break. It's fine.
Well, very good. I'm glad you're having a lot of fun, and it's great to see you so many spots. I think it's awesome. I was going to say, we do have a weekend harder coming up this Saturday, so looking forward to that, and having JT back. And then I don't know what we have planned for next Monday, the 13th, but I think that's going to be JT's pick. So hopefully
I know we've suggested something a couple of times.
Yeah,
I don't know if we've finalized that, but
I don't know either. But yeah, we've been making a bunch of suggestions, bouncing things off each other. But I'm hoping he will be back. We definitely miss him around here. But everybody will have to stay tuned for that. And I think with that, we're going to say good night and goodbye. We'll see you.
later.
Truck to refrigerators to dumpster, 360 spin onto the palace, backflip gainer into the trash.
This is it. Man, big, just relax and have fun. Just gonna have fun with it.